The morning mist clung to the windows of the downtown coffee shop as Sarah Chen hurried past, her heels clicking against the wet pavement. She was already 15 minutes late for her presentation to the board, and the last thing she needed was to be delayed by the usual crowd of people seeking shelter from the October drizzle. But something made her stop. Through the foggy glass, she saw an elderly man sitting alone at a corner table, staring at an empty coffee cup with the kind of loneliness that seemed to radiate outward like heat from a dying fire. His weathered hands trembled slightly as he turned the cup in small circles, and his eyes held the distant look of someone who had nowhere else to go. Sarah checked her phone. 17 minutes late now. The presentation that could secure her promotion was waiting, along with 6 stern-faced board members who valued punctuality above almost everything else. She should keep walking. Instead, she found herself pushing open the coffee shop door. The bell above chimed softly as she entered, bringing with it the rich aroma of freshly ground beans and the low murmur of morning conversations. The elderly man looked up briefly as she approached his table, his rheumy blue eyes meeting hers with surprise. "Excuse me," Sarah said gently, settling into the chair across from him. "I'm Sarah. Mind if I sit for a moment?" The man blinked, clearly taken aback. Well, I suppose. I'm Harold Winters." His voice carried the refined cadence of someone who had once commanded boardrooms himself. "Nice to meet you, Harold. Can I buy you a coffee? Maybe something to eat?" Harold's weathered face flushed slightly. "Oh, I couldn't. I mean, I don't want to be a bother. I was just warming up a bit before heading out." Sarah noticed the way his eyes avoided hers, the proud set of his shoulders despite the threadbare quality of his coat. She recognized the dignity of someone who had fallen on hard times but refused to let it break his spirit entirely. "It's no bother at all. I'm having coffee anyway, and I hate drinking alone." It was a small lie, but one that preserved his dignity. "What do you say? My treat." After a moment's hesitation, Harold nodded. "That's very kind of you. A small coffee would be lovely." Sarah stood and walked to the counter, where a young barista with purple hair and kind eyes was wiping down the espresso machine. "Hi there, could I get 2 large coffees, black, and 2 of those blueberry muffins? Also," she lowered her voice, "the gentleman at the corner table, has he been here long?" The barista, whose name tag read, Maya, glanced over at Harold with obvious affection. "Mr. Winters. He comes in every morning, orders 1 small coffee, makes it last about 3 hours. Been doing it for months now. He's really sweet, always asks about my art classes." "Art classes?" "Yeah, I'm studying graphic design at the community college. He always remembers to ask how I'm doing, gives me advice about following my dreams. Used to be in advertising, I think." Maya prepared the order, then hesitated. "Between you and me, I don't think he has anywhere else to go during the day. Sometimes I give him day-old pastries for free, tell him they're just going to get thrown out anyway." Sarah felt her chest tighten. She thought of her own comfortable apartment, her steady job, her full refrigerator. "Add a gift card to this order," she said quietly. $100. Maya's eyes widened. "Seriously, that's incredibly nice of you." "Sometimes we all need a little kindness," Sarah replied, thinking of her grandmother who had raised her after her parents died, teaching her that compassion was never wasted. She returned to the table with the coffee and muffins, along with the gift card tucked discreetly under Harold's plate. They talked for 20 minutes about everything and nothing, his late wife Eleanor, his career in advertising, Maya's artistic ambitions, the changing neighborhood. Harold's face grew more animated with each passing minute, the loneliness gradually receding like morning fog in sunlight. When Sarah finally had to leave, now 45 minutes late for her presentation, Harold grasped her hand gently. "Thank you, my dear. You've given an old man more than just coffee today. Take care, Harold. I hope to see you again soon." As she hurried toward her office building, Sarah felt an unexpected lightness in her step. Yes, she was late. Yes, the presentation might not go as planned. But something about her encounter with Harold had reminded her of what truly mattered. The boardroom was intimidatingly quiet when she finally arrived, her heels echoing against the polished floor. 6 pairs of eyes looked up from their tablets and papers, expressions ranging from mildly annoyed to outright disapproving. "Ms. Chen," said Margaret Thornton, the CEO, her voice crisp with barely contained irritation. "We've been waiting. I sincerely apologize," Sarah began, settling her materials at the head of the long mahogany table. "We're not interested in excuses," interrupted James Morrison, the CFO. "Let's just get on with it." Sarah took a breath, centering herself. Normally, she would have launched into an elaborate apology, flustered and defensive. But something about her morning with Harold had shifted her perspective. She thought of his quiet dignity, his genuine interest in others despite his own struggles. "You're absolutely right," she said calmly. "Let me show you something I think you'll find very exciting." For the next 30 minutes, Sarah presented her proposal for the company's new community outreach program with a passion and authenticity she hadn't felt in years. Instead of focusing solely on profit margins and market penetration, she spoke about corporate responsibility, about building genuine connections with the communities they served. The data shows that companies with strong community engagement see a 20% increase in employee satisfaction and a 15% boost in customer loyalty, she explained, clicking through her slides. But beyond the numbers, there's something to be said for doing business with heart. Margaret leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "Tell us more about this doing business with heart concept." Sarah thought of Harold, of Maya pursuing her dreams while working to put herself through school, of all the small acts of kindness that rippled outward in ways we might never fully understand. It's about recognizing that behind every transaction, every interaction, there's a human being with hopes and struggles and dreams, she said. When we lead with compassion, when we make decisions based not just on profit but on impact, we create something lasting. We create trust, loyalty, and, ultimately, a more sustainable business model. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Margaret smiled, the first genuine smile Sarah had seen from her in months. "Ms. Chen, this is exactly the kind of forward-thinking approach we need. James, I want you to work with Sarah to implement this program." Full budget approval. As the meeting concluded and the board members filed out, Margaret lingered. "Sarah, can I ask what inspired this shift in your presentation style? You seemed different today. More authentic." Sarah thought of Harold's gentle eyes, his quiet wisdom. "I met someone this morning who reminded me that the best business decisions often come from the heart." Margaret nodded slowly. "My grandmother used to say something similar. Kindness is the only investment that never fails." I'd forgotten that. She paused at the door. "By the way, that promotion you've been working toward. Consider it official. You'll make an excellent director." The rest of Sarah's day passed in a blur of congratulatory messages and planning meetings. But as evening approached, she found herself thinking about Harold. On impulse, she stopped by the coffee shop on her way home. Maya was behind the counter, her purple hair now streaked with silver glitter. "Hey, you're the lady from this morning. Mr. Winters couldn't stop talking about you after you left. How is he doing?" Maya's face lit up. "Amazing. He found that gift card you left and was so touched he actually cried a little. But that's not even the best part. He spent the afternoon here working on his laptop, and it turns out he's been writing a memoir about his years in advertising. He let me read a chapter, and it's incredible. He's got all these stories about famous campaigns from the 60s and 70s. That's wonderful. But wait, there's more." Maya's excitement was infectious. "You know how he always asks about my art? Well, today he offered to help me with my portfolio. Turns out he knows people in the industry, and he thinks he can help me get an internship at a design firm downtown. Can you believe it?" Sarah felt that warm glow in her chest again, the same feeling she'd had that morning. "That's fantastic, Maya. It's all because of you, you know. He said meeting you reminded him that he still has something valuable to offer the world. He's been so isolated since his wife died, but today he seemed like a completely different person." As Sarah walked home through the tree-lined streets of her neighborhood, she reflected on the day's events. One small act of kindness, stopping to share coffee with a lonely man, had somehow rippled outward in ways she couldn't have imagined. Harold had found purpose again, Maya might get her dream internship, and Sarah herself had delivered the presentation of her career and earned a promotion. But the story was far from over. Over the following weeks, Sarah made it a habit to stop by the coffee shop each morning. She watched Harold transform from a solitary figure nursing a single cup of coffee into a vibrant mentor and storyteller. His memoir project had energized him, and Maya wasn't his only protege. Soon, he was holding informal wisdom sessions every Tuesday evening, where young professionals could come to seek advice from his decades of experience. Maya flourished under Harold's guidance, her portfolio growing stronger by the week. But more than that, she began implementing his suggestion to create a pay it forward board at the coffee shop, where customers could buy coffee or pastries for others who might need them. The simple wooden board, decorated with Maya's artwork, became a focal point of community generosity. It's incredible, Maya told Sarah one morning as they watched Harold animatedly explaining brand psychology to a group of rapt young listeners.